This is the prescience ability of Kashin Koji in action, the one that he's using to shape the destiny of the story, and as you can see there are multiple possibilities for what could go down in the next chapter. Like in one future we have Boruto awakening the pure eye through the Shibai Cells of Boro that were transplanted by Mitsuki. The other future is how Kawaki saving the day in his new and OG timeskip getup, and even the mangekyo activation of Sarada to protect everyone is also a part of the lineup. How is it going, everyone? Welcome to the most underrated place of the community. Today we are going to figure out the most possible outcomes to unfold in chapter 20, and to determine which of them are worth the attention, we shall be using the spinning wheel of fate, where we have 7 different possibilities rolled up. Not to mention, this month we have chapter 100 of the manga dropping, which means something special is definitely on the way. So let's toss our gold coin onto the spinning wheel to determine the first promising possibility. Well, the wheel says Kawaki, and I must say the hints indicating at his huge reveal are too convincing to be false. Ever wondered how some authors leave open strings in their stories that they catch up to later on, leaving fans thinking in the meantime that how exactly would the setup play out, or let's say in case of Boruto, how did they reach there? Well, it has been almost 20 months since the timeskip released, and the mystery of Kawaki's new getup still remains. At first I believed this new attire was a homage to Jigen and his real father, maybe even core due to the scarf, but judging by how the story is going, that might only be half true. One of the reasons for Kawaki to appear and flex his brand new attire in this chapter has something to do with the uniqueness of the chapter itself. It's officially the 100th installment of the series, and if they don't do anything special for this occasion, then maybe they were never serious about it at first place, which is definitely not the case, since there was an important death at every double-digit chapter in part 1, and even chapter 50 of the series had set the scene for Naruto's iconic Baryon mode transformation. So is the new form of Kawaki coming up as a cliffhanger in the next chapter? Well, that's highly possible as well, since he is literally the son of Naruto in this reality, so him coming to save the day, just like how his father figure attained the final transformation, would be a symbolic addition to the story. This new attack form, as they call it, would apparently lower his defensive as well as regeneration powers, but as they say, the strongest offense eliminates the need of a defense, and looking at how Kawaki is still active and likely the one behind Konoha's destruction in the future, I think this new power up would bring his lost respect back. After all, he would rank up to the level of Ishiki or Suzuki, so turning his offenses into a defense shouldn't be a big deal. As for why I believe the secret code of Amado would bring forth this new getup of Kawaki, the fabric of his scarf looks diabolically similar to the outfit of Code. There is no way they are not the same material, and judging by how this fabric has been visible in the outfit of Code ever since his limiters were removed, don't you think it's obvious for Kawaki to go through the same? Also, something caught my eye with Amado's limiter passcode, which also hints at this analogy. I'm not sure about this, but if you read the statement that he used while unlocking the limiters of Code, it says there is no dress code, and judging by how the dress of his cyborgs undergoes some visible change, I don't think it was a coincidence at all. The hints for Kawaki's fateful emergence only get more interesting from this point, so hope you leave a like on this video in support of 2 Blue Vortex. Now let's look at the most obvious reason for why Kawaki deserves the limelight in this chapter. I have noticed a pattern in 2 Blue Vortex. Sometimes when a character does something remarkable, he always for some reasons conquers the cover of the following chapter. Like when we got the flashback of Kashin Koji unveiling the ability of prescience in chapter 13, he was then used as the cover page for the following one. So if this chapter has someone like Konohamaru or Amado on the cover, then Kawaki's new getup would definitely conquer the next chapter, and this would come as a payoff for all the else and disrespect that he has been going through all this time. Basically, his power problem needs a solution, with this chapter being the perfect time for him to not only change the perspective of the readers, but also show us the true powers of Ishiki through the karma. You must have certainly noticed the absence of Kawaki and Amado from the manga for 4 whole chapters, and looking at how they were discussing Akebi's revival in chapter 15, I won't be surprised if they have come to some conclusion off screen, and now Kawaki is on his way to save the day in his new form. I went through the whole 2 Blue Vortex manga, and the only chapter that I found where Kawaki did not appear in person was the 7th one. In this chapter, he had been intoxicated from the poison of Mitsuki, and not to mention we still got a flashback of him, which means chapter chapter 16, 17, 18 and 19 are the only ones where he has disappeared from the manga for no obvious reasons. But there is definitely some reason involved, cause why would they kill 4 chapters worth of screen time for a character whose development had been keeping the plot interesting? It reminds me of chapter 65 when Kawaki unexpectedly unlocked the Karma Seal and we even got a monologue of Amaru talking about this power. So assuming this new reveal is an even bigger deal than that, I think their absence will lead to an even greater payoff, with Kawaki emerging in his brand new form to save the shinobi. It would even prove Kashin Koji correct, as he was pretty confident that the shinobis would somehow deal with the situation even without the interference of Boruto. The reason he stopped him from joining in was because he was on Jura's radar and can even lose his life while fighting him. But when it comes to Kawaki, Jura wants to sacrifice him to the Ten Tails, which means the Shinjus won't dare to kill him since it would spoil their master plan. In other words, Kawaki has a strong plot armor against Jura, so him coming to fight the Shinjus make a good amount of sense. The final point for the Kawaki theory has something to do with the symbolic interpretation of his role as Naruto's son. So ever since Omnipotence, the whole village sees him as Boruto, which means in the eyes of Konohamaru, he is a member of Team 7 and the son of Naruto, whom he used to train in the early days. So to playfully uplift his student-teacher dynamic, Kawaki could be the one to save Konohamaru from Matsuri in this chapter, similar to how Boruto saved Himawari from Jura and then went straight to protect Sarada. Not to mention there could even be some new condition that both Kawaki and Amaru would have to agree upon when it comes to fulfilling their motivations. Well, it's only about time when we get to know what that is, but I personally don't think the revival of Akebi is near unless Sugimoto wants to finish the manga under 30 volumes. So let's get back to our spinning wheel and put another coin in it to find out the next theory worth of discussion. Well, it says the fate of Konohamaru, and this time we will not be discussing his fateful death, rather something a lot more interesting. So subscribe if you haven't already and let's get into it. So the most plausible possibility for Konohamaru's fate in the story had something to do with him being a sacrifice to showing us the phenomenon of the Shinju's evolution after devouring their instinctual target. But the love factor from the last chapter could be the key to saving him, and the hints to back this up come from the original series. So to understand that better, take a look at this cover from the first volume of Boruto. At first it appears normal, but if you look closely, there is a tree behind Boruto and there is even a cat on it. Now when you compare it to this panel where Boruto is sitting in front of Sasuke's tree, the foreshadowing becomes pretty obvious, but there is more to it. In Naruto, there lived an old lady Nekoba, also known as the Granny Cat. Her job was to supply weapons to the Uchiha clan, and she even owned a lot of cats. Now looking at this panel with that knowledge, it can be deduced that this has been teasing the fate of Sasuke from the very beginning. Now as for what it has to do with Konohamaru, we all know the Shinjus are basically living trees, and if we go back to the fight between Orochimaru and Hiruzen, where he revived the OG Hokages, we could see him getting restrained by Hashirama's wood style, but he managed to escape using a powerful burst of chakra. And looking at how Matsuri has apparently trapped Konohamaru with wood style as well, there is a possibility that Konohamaru will get out of the situation similar to Hiruzen using some strong chakra attack. This would explain why Koji did not let Boruto interfere. He knows Konohamaru would somehow deal with this. And as for the aftermath, we could get a talk no jutsu moment, since there is no way for Konohamaru to get over this until and unless someone comes to his rescue. Now let's spin the wheel again to get our hands on the next major possibility. So this time we have got Boruto, but predicting his individual role would be hard due to the lack of intel. Let's instead explore what the Singularities are going to do in this chapter and beyond. This is one of the most interesting topics in my eyes due to the possibility of one of them messing up and destroying the whole timeline. You can check my last video to find out more on this. But as for what they might be doing in chapter 20, I think the coordination between Aida and Koji will remain the same until and unless Kawaki goes to Aida to know the location of the Shinjus. Just think about it. How possibly could Kawaki get to know about the location of Ryu and Matsuri if it's not through Aida? Indeed, he could reach out to Shikamaru, likely off screen, which could bring us to his unexpected entry into the fight. Apart from Aida helping out Kawaki, I could even see her simping over his new getup and look. But if she remains neutral, then it would be clear that she's losing interest in him, something that crossed my mind when I saw this panel from an earlier chapter. So why Aida losing interest over Kawaki is such a big thing? Well, we actually never know. Maybe it would weaken her omnipotent spell after she starts to incline more towards Boruto. That's indeed an interesting possibility, but looking at the current stakes, I don't see that happening. A thing I noticed about Aida is that she loves Kawaki. However, it's not that sacrificial kind of love, so let me prove my point. When Boruto and Kawaki fought over the Hokage mountain, Sarada jumped in to save Boruto, but I don't see Aida doing the same. Not because she didn't come to Kawaki's rescue when Sasuke and the others trapped him, but due to the fact that Kashin Koji told us about a future where Kawaki goes out to hunt Code after killing Boruto and Sarada, but ends up dying, which leads to him becoming the Ten-Tailed Sacrifice, hence the end of the world. If Aida truly loved him, she could have sent Daemon to help him out in that future, which would have prevented the world from ending, but that was just a possibility and not anything absolute. But the fact that there was no mention of Aida's actions from those futures, I think her love towards Kawaki is more sympathetic in nature than anything else. It can be a programming too, and I will talk about that in a bit. As for Kashin Koji, he seems to be putting all the pieces together to manifest some sort of future that won't come true otherwise. He could have sent Boruto to quickly deal with Masuri and Ryu, and then he could have asked him to come back as soon as Jura arrives. But instead he let the things happen in a particular way, like by getting the two Shinju in a particular place, and then sending some specific shinobis to deal with them. He must have known from the beginning that the betrayal plan will not work. So could it be that he wants someone dead like Konohamaru, which would put the trajectory of events towards a better path? Well, Koji could have some secret agenda in mind that even Boruto has no idea about. His effort to keep Boruto alive seemed to resemble someone else's plan. Momoshiki also wanted to protect Boruto, but for his own reasons. Koji on the other hand seems different, as his motives appear more selfless. He wants Boruto to survive, not for his personal gain, but for the sake of the shinobi world. At least that's what it looks like. One theory suggests Koji could be a vessel for a missing god Suzuki, mirroring the tale of Madara and Obito. And if you are interested in that one, check out the video on the right. You can also find out how Aida may have been programmed to love Kawaki in the left video. Don't forget to leave your predictions in the comments, and I will see you next time.